Good morning and welcome to another daily commute with Coffee Guy 419. This is brought to you by the Golden Dog. Hello, dog. Today is the 77th anniversary of the Battle of Midway. I know news medias have kind of focused on the 75th anniversary of D-Day, which was yesterday, but a couple of years earlier, in 1942, June 4th through June 7th, was the Battle of Midway. So the Americans decoded a message from the Japanese to their troops. They had a plan to attack Midway Islands and lure the American ships out to that area of the Pacific and destroy them. The Americans just didn't like that plan. So they created their own ambush, and they brought 3 carriers and a bunch of other ships. I don't know how big their fleet was because I didn't research it well enough. Another cool fact is today is National Donut Day. Everybody's at Fort Finley getting their donut. For every purchase that you make at Fort Finley today, you get a free donut. Go get your donut. Do it. They're good. And so's the coffee, which is more important than the donut. Which brings me to the coffee fact of the day. 1 cup of black coffee contains 1 calorie. So if you have black coffee and you're watching your calorie count, you can afford to eat a donut. But if you add the milk, the creamer, whatever, and the sugar, you done blew it and you can't have your donut. You got to give it to me. Sorry, man. It's just the way things work. It's a cruel, cruel world. Back to the battle at Midway. In the ensuing battle that came at Midway, the Americans lost 1 of their 3 carriers, 1 destroyer, and they lost 150 planes. 307 men were killed. 3 were taken prisoner and later killed by the Japanese. But on the other side of things, the Japanese lost 4 of their 4 carriers. So all 4 of their carriers, 1 heavy cruiser, 1 heavy cruiser heavily damaged. They lost 246 planes, 3,057 men were killed, and 37 of their men were taken prisoner of war by the Americans and not killed. And they lost 246 airplanes. So the Japanese set about to ambush the American fleet, and instead they got ambushed and the tables were completely turned on them. And it turned out drastically for them. So that is this day in history. But we can also find that the Americans and the Japanese actually repaired their relations after World War II. May have taken a few years, but they did it. And one example of that is on September 6th, 1976, Victor Blinko defected from the USSR to the US. He flew his MiG-25P out of Russia and landed in Japan. The Russians demanded the return of their plane, which created a problem for the United States because they wanted to fly it and check it all out, pick through it. So, as a compromise, they decided that they would tear it apart in Japan, which Japan allowed them to do. They took the plane apart, and then Japan shipped it back to Russia in 40 crates. Russia complained that parts were missing, so they packaged up an additional 20 crates and shipped them to Russia as well. And word has it, Russia paid for the shipping. Interesting fact about the Japanese in World War II, they built some really large ships. Some that were so big, in fact, that they couldn't afford to put fuel in them and send them out. So they spent most of the war at dock, fully manned. So that's what was happening this day on December 7th in 1942. But that's not all that was happening, because back in the US, my grandmother was giving birth to my mother. Interesting little side note, right? My mom would be 77 today. For watching, and if you like this video, be sure to leave me a thumbs up down below, leave me a comment, say hello, let me know what you think, what's going on in your life, all that. What's your favorite cup of coffee? And in the meantime, be safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.